Hey writers, today we're moving on to session 4, finding and testing a thesis. So let's refresh for just a moment. We are in our literary essay unit, so we're reading stories to come up with ideas about those stories, and then write to persuade other people about our ideas or to convince them that what we're saying is a valid point. So we're going to take a moment and glue a chart into our notebook. So here are some steps to writing a literary essay. If you notice, we've already done sessions 1 and session 2, and some of these ideas might look familiar. So in writing a literary essay, we can grow ideas about a text by using thought prompts. I know we've used a lot of those. By asking questions of the text, and by studying characters. So we've spent our past couple of days growing ideas about our characters in the text and then elaborating on those using thought prompts. So we have a really great start so far. That's one way to start writing a literary essay. Once we start thinking about stories, we need to find a big idea. So that's what we'll be doing today, finding big ideas in the story in order to write a thesis or a one-sentence main idea. And then we're going to test that by asking some questions to see if it will have enough support. So let's think back to essay writing. I kind of just gave us away. Also, with this chart, please take a moment to glue it into your notebook. So press pause and do that now. Press play when you're ready. So now moving on, we should have that chart glued into our notebooks. We kind of talked about a one-sentence idea here that really gives us a clear picture of what our entire literary essay is going to be about. So there's one thing that we need first thing in our essay. It's one sentence long, but the entire essay is built around that one sentence. So this is called a thesis. So our thesis is a one-sentence main idea, really just telling us what the rest of the essay is going to be about. So today our goal is to reread 11, and we're going to use that to help form our thesis. So how in the world do you find ideas or find a thesis statement? So I'm going to read some of 11 for you, and as I read, what I want you to do is notice how I find certain ideas that are going to help me come up with a thesis. So I'm looking for ideas that to me are really important in this story, and maybe I'll be able to piece those together to come up with that one sentence main idea about my literary essay. So here is our story, 11. Now remember, 11 itself is a narrative. We will be writing an essay about our narrative. So 11 by Sandra Cisneros. What they don't understand about birthdays and what they never tell you is that when you're 11, you're also 10 and 9 and 8, 7, 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. And when you wake up on your 11th birthday, you expect to feel 11, but you don't. I'm going to underline that sentence because it seems like it could be important. You open your eyes and everything's just like yesterday, only it's today. And you don't feel 11 at all. You feel like you're still 10. And you are, underneath the year that makes you feel 11. I'm going to underline you feel like you're still 10. Now you do not need to underline what I am underlining, because you will be going through this story yourself in a moment and deciding what you think is important. Like some days you might say something stupid and that's the part of you that's still 10. Or maybe some days you might think to sit on your mama's lap because you're scared, and that's the part of you that's 5. And maybe one day when you're all grown up, maybe you will need to cry like if you're 3, and that's okay. That's what I tell Mama when she's sad and needs to cry. Maybe she's feeling 3. Because the way you grow old is kind of like an onion, or the rings inside a tree trunk, or like my little wooden dolls that fit inside each other. Each year, inside the next one. That's how being 11 years old is. You don't feel 11. Not right away. It takes a few days, weeks even, sometimes even months before you say 11 when they ask you. And you don't even feel smart. Not until you're almost 12. That's the way it is. And I'm going to kind of bracket that paragraph. And I'm going to underline you don't feel 11. So far I'm getting the idea that when you turn 11, or when you turn a new age in general, you don't feel that way. And she seems kind of disappointed about turning. So these are some ideas that I might be able to go with in my thesis. Only today I wish I didn't have only 11 years rattling inside me like pennies in a tin Band-Aid box. Today I wish I was 102 instead of 11, because if I was 102, I'd have known what to say when Mrs. Price put the red sweater on my desk. I would have known how to tell her it wasn't mine, instead of just sitting there with that look on my face and nothing coming out of my mouth. "Whose is this?" Mrs. Price says, and she holds the red sweater up in the air for all the class to see. "Whose? It's been sitting in the coat room for a month." "Not mine," says everybody. "Not me." "It has to belong to somebody," Mrs. Price keeps saying, but nobody can remember. "It's an ugly sweater with red plastic buttons and a collar and sleeves all stretched out like you could use it for a jump rope. It's maybe 1,000 years old, and even if it belonged to me, I wouldn't say so. Maybe because I'm skinny, maybe because she doesn't like me. That stupid Sylvia Salvador says, I think it belongs to Rachel. An ugly sweater like that, all raggedy and old." But Mrs. Price believes her. I'm going to underline that. Mrs. Price believes her. Mrs. Price takes the sweater and puts it right on my desk. But when I open my mouth, nothing comes out. I'm going to underline this part here. So she's really not being treated like she's older at this point. So I'm going to jump down here a little bit. So this is all arguing about whether or not the sweater is hers. And I'm going to continue on the next page here. So Mrs. Price now has just made her put the sweater on. Notice as I'm going through, parts of it I'm rereading, but parts of it I'm kind of skipping over, because right now I'm seeing if there are some main ideas in here that can lead me to a thesis. So I'm going to jump to this part here. This is when I wish I wasn't 11, and I'm going to underline that. Because all the years inside of me, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, are pushing at the back of my eyes when I put one arm through one sleeve of the sweater that smells like cottage cheese, and then the other arm through the other, and stand there with my arms apart like if the sweater hurts me, and it does, all itchy and full of germs that aren't even mine. That's when everything I've been holding in since this morning, since when Mrs. Price put the sweater on my desk, finally lets go, and all of a sudden I'm crying in front of everybody. I wish I was invisible, but I'm not. I'm 11 and it's my birthday today, and I'm crying like I'm 3 in front of everybody. I put my head down on the desk and bury my face in my stupid clown sweater arms. My face is all hot and spit coming out of my mouth because I can't stop the little animal noises coming from me until there aren't any more tears left in my eyes, and it's just my body shaking. Like when you have the hiccups, and my whole head hurts like when you drink milk too fast. So I'm going to underline a couple sentences here. So I'm going to underline, I wish I was invisible, but I'm not. I'm 11 and it's my birthday today and I'm crying. So to me that kind of feels like it's a letdown. Then I'm going to jump to down here. Today I'm 11. There's cake Mama's making for tonight, and when Papa comes home from work, we'll eat it. There'll be candles and presents, and everyone will sing happy birthday to you, Rachel, only it's too late. I'm going to underline that part too. It's too late. I'm 11 today. I'm 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. But I wish I was 102. I wish I was anything but 11. I'm going to underline that, because I want today to be far away already. Far away like a runaway balloon, like a tiny O in the sky. So tiny, tiny, you have to close your eyes to see it. So I'm getting the overall impression that she's not too happy about being 11. It seems like there are a lot of disappointing events that happen. So I'm wondering if my main idea can be off of that fact that turning 11 can kind of be a little disappointing. So I'm going to go back to here. So what we want to do is, once we come up with an idea, so I'm going to go off of the idea that some people think growing up is fun, but it's not. So that seems to be the idea that our main character is really trying to explain to us. So Rachel is telling us that she does not think growing up is very fun. So all of you have this organizer in front of you. Make sure at the top of it you put your name, and you're also going to write the title of our story 11, because this is not the only organizer we are going to be filling out that looks like this. We're going to do a couple with some different stories. Today is just 11. So in the middle, this is where we're going to write our thesis, because everything around it is going to show support to our thesis. So the first thing I'm going to write is that one sentence idea that I just shared with you. So people think growing up is fun, but it is not. And I'm going to leave it right there. It's one sentence, and I want to try to write an entire essay around this one idea. So how in the world do I do that, and how do I know my thesis is good enough? So I need to ask some questions about it. Does my possible thesis relate to the rest of the story? Will I be able to support my thesis with enough evidence in the story? And if I cannot, then I need to choose a different thesis. If I only have one idea that supports it, it's not strong enough. It's not good enough. We need at least 3 details that will support it. So if we look to our organizer, we have room for 1, 2, 3 ideas, and then if we choose this story, this is where we would write a conclusion. So we do not need to fill this box in. Right now I'm on the hunt for 3 supporting ideas. That's why I had underlined a lot of ideas in my text here, because they were all pointing me to something. So the first thing that I want to go through, in this entire first section, she's talking about you expect to feel 11, you don't, you feel like you're still 10, you don't feel 11. I see a theme going on here. So my first supporting detail can cover these couple paragraphs, and I want to say, you don't feel like, I'm going to say, you don't feel like you're older. You are older. And that's all I need to write. I can go in and fill in more details later if I choose this story. So now I need to come up with 2 more ideas. So moving on, there was another section that I started underlining in, and that's over here, where nobody's believing Rachel when she says that the sweater isn't hers, and people are being kind of rude to her, and they're making her wear it and put it on. It doesn't even belong to her. So to me, they're not really respecting Rachel when she says, no, it doesn't belong to me, because she's forced to put it on anyways. So I think my second supporting detail is going to be, people don't treat you like you're older. So they don't even believe her. Treat you like you are older. So now I just need to find one more supporting detail. So I had underlined some more on the back here where she's talking about going home. Well, she's saying, I wish I was invisible, but I'm not. It's my birthday and I'm crying. The cake and the singing should be fun later, but it won't be because it's too late for it to be fun. So I'm thinking my last detail could be that birthdays are a disappointment. That's what she's feeling. So birthdays are disappointing. So looking at this, I was able to come up with one sentence and 1, 2, 3 ideas that are going to support it. So yes, this is a strong enough thesis because I will be able to elaborate on all of those details I just chose. So once you go through the process of finding it, you need to make sure you ask yourself those 2 questions. Is it strong enough? Do you have, was it strong enough? Do you have enough supporting details to write about it? So what you're going to do today is go back to 11 just like I did, and you're going to go through and see if you can pick out a thesis. It could be similar to mine. It should not look exactly like mine. It could be about an idea like I did, or it could be about an idea about a character. Yesterday you worked really hard. I've got a lot of responses here to give me ideas about the character, so you could use something like this as a thesis. or you can find something fresh. So today during your writing, you need to look back at 11 and list some possible theses. If you don't want to put it right on your organizer, you can put it on your copy of 11. Once you have one that you want to work with, what you are going to do is ask these two questions. Do I have enough evidence to support it? And you will fill out your organizer. Today I'm collecting these organizers, so I need to see it completely filled out. As I'm coming around, I want to help you focus on synthesizing information or putting that information together, and I want to help you focus on making sure your thesis will have enough evidence to support it. So at the end of class today, I will be collecting your organizers. So enjoy reading through 11 and finding a thesis with evidence. Happy writing.